All right, hello and welcome to the May 25th edition of Wines Day. My name is Zach, pronouns he, him. I'm here with Maggie, my amazing wine assistant tonight, talking about some Portuguese wines that we've got going on at the co-op. That's basically the second two out of the white and red sets that we've got, and quite a bit different part of Portugal. We're trying to cover all the bases with our little Portuguese display. Tonight, both of the wines are from Paulo Laureano. He's been making wine for like 30 plus years. He's actually pretty cool looking dude. I'm really jealous of his mustache. I tried to do some extra styling tonight so I could try and, pull in some Paulo power. But this is the guy who's made our wines tonight. Starting off with a white. Cheers, everybody. We also have a red that we'll get into just a little bit. So today, all of these wines come from Alentejo, and got some pictures for us. Go back to Paulo for a second. So Portugal, Alentejo is right here. Known for indigenous white and red varietals, which are what these wines are made out of, and also known for Cork oak. So if you think about, what your wine is made out of, typically there's basically 5 different things. There's natural cork, which is what this is kind of these wine corks are made out of. Synthetic cork, which actually is made in Zebulon. There's a place called Nomo Cork that does, I think, like 80% of the world's synthetic cork, and they've got different factories all over the world. They do a lot of stuff in New Zealand, South Africa, but the fact that an hour away we have a huge cork producer you wouldn't necessarily think of. The cork tonight is natural cork that's been kind of glued and pressed together. It's called technical cork. It's also called agglomerate. So you'll see that in a lot of wines, especially kind of mid-tier wines will have a conglomerate or agglomerate cork in there. You have a vino lock. So if you've ever had a glass top wine before, there's quite a few German wines. Some of our vermouths come with a glass top. Quite a few German wines come with a glass top. And then there's a Stelvin or a screw cap, which a long time ago we assumed that all cheap wine was under screw cap. Now we've got $40 and $50 bottle screw top wine. So the technology's come a long way. The quality of the wine inside of the bottles has come a long way. So don't get turned off by a screw cap. But the thing that these folks are known for is the cork oak, and we've got a lot of really cool pictures that I was able to find. So this is a cork oak tree. In Alentejo, they are known for what's called the dehasa, which is like a way of doing agriculture where you're kind of preserving the land, and it's kind of migratory for animals, and as the farmers kind of go and peel the cork off of the trees. And they've been doing this forever. The cork oak is an oak tree. It's Quercus suber, and they drop acorns. And if you've ever heard of Iberico ham before, and the pata negra, the Blackfoot pig, the acorns that they're feeding on are from the cork oak trees. So you don't necessarily, I didn't put it together until earlier this week when I was doing some research, and thought that was really cool. If you've ever had the chance to experience Iberico pata negra ham, I highly recommend it. It does have this like sweet and nuttiness that comes from the acorn of these trees right here. So it's pretty cool. Cork oaks live to be about 250, 300 years old. They have to be at least 30 years old before they start to produce cork. And then every 9 to 10 years or 9 to 11 years, they harvest the cork. So this is a cross section. You can see like that looks like oak, and then this outside is the cork. There's another kind of peeled section. And then you've got guys who are harvesting. So they have these axes that they kind of slice through, and then they gently peel off these big sheets of cork. See, that's after it's been peeled. And they'll mark the year that it was peeled on the tree in spray paint. so that they know not to harvest it for another 9 to 11 years. And so they can kind of keep track. It doesn't hurt the tree at all. It's beneficial to the tree because the tree wants to produce the cork and then it kind of dies off. So by peeling it, it kind of gives it a reason to produce more cork. Cork's actually really fire retardant as well. So these trees are some of the most fire retardant tree, and the wildfires that happen in Aleteo, like they survive them just because the cork acts as an insulator. In Aleteo, the temperature swing is pretty crazy. The highest recorded was 118 degrees, which is kind of insane. I think you can poach an egg at that temperature. And they also have a huge diurnal shift. We've talked about that before, where the height of the temperature in the day and the low of the temperature of the night swings about 30 degrees pretty consistently, if not more. That's really good for grape growth. Basically, the hot of the day encourages the sugars to produce and ripen, and the cool of the day and the night saves the acidity, so it gives it some balance. Most great wines in wine-making areas have a really good diurnal shift, and Aleteo is no exception for that. So this is the peeled cork, and you can see like that is a large amount. They produce like millions of tons of this, and there's another peeled tree, and you can see that was harvested in 2004, 2014, and then they just kind of leave that. The person who kind of marked its little initials there. This is the city of Evora. There's some ancient ruins. It's a World Heritage site. So there's a lot of history. Winemaking was actually brought to this area by the Romans, and then it just kind of stuck around. And also got, this is like, those are the oak tree leaves. And then as far as the process, what they do is they take those big sheets of cork, they boil them, and then they flatten them. And they eventually will turn into this. And the boiling softens up the cork as well as just making it flatter so it's easier to process. And then you've got these people whose job is to like hand cut the cork. Hand cut cork is the best of the best. It's a skill and talent that these people learn over the course of many years. And you can see this kind of like crazy drill press thing. The attention to detail they have, if they mess up, can ruin a cork. And then there's no good. This is what the bark looks like after they've drilled the corks. Obviously, they didn't like how this area was, so they skipped it. Same thing down here. There is a mark. And the hand cut corks are also hand sorted. So these folks will like visually assess the cork, see if there's anything wrong, any blemishes, and then those are ground up and then turned into that technical cork that is in the wine tonight. You can kind of look at it and see all the little grains. Cork flooring a lot of time is also made like that, where it's chopped up and then kind of pressed and formed together. And then this is the final result of the hand cut cork. And these corks can cost over €1 a piece. So that's like $1.50 of just cost, not even putting it into the bottle, not shipping it. Another kind of hidden thing that if you do have a full natural cork, you don't think that, I didn't think it cost $1, which is kind of crazy on top of all the other things they put into it, the glass, the cardboard, and then finally, the wine itself. There are quite a few high-end wineries in California that are using whole natural cork. One of them is Elk Cove, which we have a little bit of their stuff on the shelves. It's all under screw cap right now. But they actually x-ray each of their corks to make sure that there's not this presence of what's called TCA, which is cork taint. So if you've ever opened a bottle of wine and it smelled like wet cardboard or like, wet dog, that is cork taint. It's not going to hurt you, but it definitely is not pleasant. It's kind of one of those things that if you know it's wrong, it's wrong. Don't be afraid to bring a bottle back that you've got from the co-op. If it is cork taint, we send those back to the vendor. They give us a new bottle. We all taken care of. And it's about 3% of wine does have cork taint if it's under natural cork. A lot of the technical cork, they've boiled enough and cleaned enough that there's actually less cork taint, but it doesn't have as good of breathability. which is the whole idea of having a full natural cork is the exchange of oxygen, lets the wine breathe and lets it develop over time. There is a little more technology into the screw caps nowadays that will still let some oxygen pass, but it's not nearly as good as the original kind of thing. All right. So that was a fun little spiel about cork. It's neat. That's one of actually their main productions in Alentejo, and then grapes and also ham. The cheeses for tonight that we are showing off are Parmigiano Reggiano. So the original Parmesan, a lot of folks kind of skip over it as a table cheese, but it actually does a really great job. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. Sorry. Okay, can you hear us? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, now we can't hear you. Okay, never mind. I'm just going to write it in the chat because our sound system is set up differently. Sorry.
Okay. So from what I was reading about sustainability, so the question is, what about sustainability? Heard that cork production is insufficient to keep up with the pace of demand. I believe that is not necessarily true. From what I was reading, and it could be the cork production company in Portugal, they're producing tons and tons of this stuff. It is a livelihood for folks. And as far as demand, I think a lot of that is the technical cork production too. So all of the scraps that are not the hand cut cork will get turned into amalgamation and then pressed together. I think a lot of it too is from the synthetic cork people that are like, hey, you should use our product too, which they've come a long way with synthetic cork. And especially in Noma cork, they're almost, I think, all carbon neutral. They have a different exterior, and then the interior has a more porosity to it to kind of mimic that oxygen exchange like real cork does. And I think from what I was reading, they aren't worried about not being able to produce enough cork. But I could try and dig more into that and get some actual numbers. But it is a sustainable thing. I mean, they're very meticulous about harvesting, and that goes back to that DSEA that I was talking about as far as like the land management. That's part of their kind of their culture and their livelihood. Just because they don't have like a ton of fertile land, like it's great for grapes, just because grapes don't really, they need that struggle that again, something that we've talked about in the past. But it doesn't. They kind of tie it full circle. And the cork forest, like as far as tearing off the cork, the forests are super important. They're not clear cutting those because they have Iberian lynx, they have like some crazy moths and butterflies. There's a symbiotic relationship with an edible mushroom called Caesar's head or Caesar's foot. And so like there's a lot of things for the cork forests. But yeah, I'll try and get some firm numbers on cork production. There's quite a bit about cork that I had no idea about until earlier this week. The other question, is there a specific type of bacteria or fungi that causes cork funk? I forgot the real term. So TCA is the mold. Let's see. Probably can get the actual term. It is a fungus. Let's see. It's like they're treated with chlorinated phenolic compounds, then it forms. So that's what the whole point of the boiling in as well. A a long time ago, there was more cork tank because they weren't as like specific as, you know, when they boiled it to change the water, to filter it, to all that kind of stuff. And so they're really have come quite a long way, which is why you're starting to see more natural cork production and that kind of stuff. I wish that we had some TCA fix. That would be great. You know, it's if you've never had a corked bottle of wine, you definitely know that there is something wrong with it. It's a really hard to miss flavor, and it's really unpleasant. If I do find a corked bottle and you're in the store, you see me, I'll let you smell it. It's not fun. You know, there's some horror stories out there of a wine rep who had a tainted bottle in their car, and it was a hot day, and it like popped the cork and it fell over and spilled in their car, and they had to sell their car because they couldn't get rid of the cork taint smell. So it's, you know, it's not fun. It's a pretty common fault though. So if you've ever had a wine, you're like, this is really funky, then, you know, and again, if you're at a restaurant, feel free to send it back. Feel free to have the som come over and taste it. You know, you won't be, you won't be, you know, put down or anything like that. And if you are, then that's not, for me, what a wine professional should be. I have no idea who bought the smelly car, but they were just really happy to not have the smelly car anymore. Right, so Parmesan Reg, jump right back into the cheese. One of the, you know, king of cheeses. It's made with like 1,000 pounds of milk, and then basically two in giant copper vats. They have these whisks that they beat like this big, that they beat the curd really fine, and it's skim milk from the night before and a fresh load of whole milk of the morning. It's never pasteurized, and they basically divide, once they coagulate it, they divide those into two wheels that weigh about 95 pounds. They float them in a giant salt bath, and then they age them. And most of the stuff in America is at least 2 years old before we get it. And there's warehouses in Italy that are full of like millions of pounds of Parmesan, and they're used as a bank. Like that's the collateral that a lot of these cheese making families have. There's another cheese made up in the north of the Piedmont. So that is very similar. The idea is that a man or a woman, whoever it was, like from Emilia Romagna, where Reggiano is from, like moved up to the Piedmont, married into a family. It was like, hey, I know how to make this really cool cheese, and they started making it. So it's another great one if you ever see it around. Let's see if I can even remember. So it's called Grana Padano. We sometimes have it at the co-op, not very often because our Reggiano is just so good. When you serve this on cheese board, just like everything, let it come up to room temp. You can stick a butter knife in it and kind of stick and twist, and it'll pop off these little like chunks that you can throw on your cheese board. You can serve it with some aged balsamic vinegar. You can serve it with some honey. The sweet and the salty do really well together. And you know, it's not just for on top of your spaghetti or in your lasagna or whatnot. It's a really great cheese just to kind of nosh on. And one of my faves. The other cheese for tonight is Widmer's mild brick cheese. Brick originated because they press the cheese in bricks. It's basically a cheddar, and they typically apply a little bit of Brevibacterium linens, or B linens. So if you've ever had Taleggio, if you've had Gruyere, and it's that kind of stinkiness, brick will turn into almost like a Limburger relative. Right now with the mild, it's not like that. You get a little bit of kind of tart and funky, but it's really mild and creamy. And you know, kind of the classic thing for Detroit style pizza. It's one of the reasons why Josh brought it in, because he was really excited about Detroit pizza. And so I figured we'd show this guy off tonight. I think as far as pairing, both the cheeses should go pretty well with the wine. I would say that the brick cheese and the white wine will do a little better than the red wine, but they should both be easy. Brick also would be great on top of a hamburger, kind of melted. You know, it's just really kind of nice and gooey. All right. Now for the fun part, wine. So tonight our wines are from Paulo Laureano, so this guy again right here, and he is in Alentejo, and his winery is in Vidigueira of Portugal. So Avora, the castle that we showed earlier, is about 50 kilometers north, and he owns about 270 acres of land, and he only uses indigenous grapes. So, you know, there's no Chardonnay, there's no Sauvignon Blanc, there's no anything like that. It's only grapes that are found in Portugal, and that, you know, that's what he does. His whole idea is to keep the Portuguese wines and grapes alive and to show them off because they are really great, and you might not know how to pronounce them. You know, it definitely is not a normal kind of thing, you know, where you think of Pinot Grigio or something like that, even though these wines can be really, really similar. The Branco, so white, or, you know, Branco, white, whatever. Flavor wise, you know, on the tasting notes, it mentioned like mango and tropical. I think that's pretty spot on. If you like Sauvignon Blanc, I think that you would like this wine as well. You know, there's that citrusiness. It's nice and light and fresh. You know, it's a little humid today, not quite as hot as it has been, but I think it's a really nice summer wine. It's made out of Anteo Vaz, gives it some complexity, also that nice kind of citrusiness. Rupiero, which gives you the aromatics, and Fareno Pires, which gives you a little bit of this kind of like spicy, exotic kind of flavor. So again, that tropical and this mango versus just like that kind of pineapple-iness. Just really light and fresh. He does cold maceration, so he lets these wines kind of hang out at a lower temperature in stainless steel. There's no oak on this one. It's just nice and crisp and light. And, you know, that shrimp salad that you guys were showing off earlier, I think this actually would do really, really great with that too. Just really easy going. And that's what he does. He wants wines that show off like his, you know, country's heritage and his land's heritage. And that's the whole idea. Maggie, what do you think of the wine?
Me, it almost like tastes like a Chenin.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chenin Blanc, which I think we've done on Wines Day before, are, you know, milder acidity, kind of yellow fruit flavors. So think yellow apple, yellow pear, and I definitely see that kind of like boldness that it's got. And there's the acid is there, but it kind of fleets a little bit, which is really refreshing.
Yeah, it's good.
What about you guys? You know, on Wines Day, thumbs up? Yeah, cool, great. That's what we like to hear. Right. But are there any questions about the white wine? It's pretty straightforward stuff today. Right. So for the Tinto Branco, so the red wine tonight, you know, from tasting notes, full-bodied, it shows what the terroir. So this is grown on schist soil type on an ancient fault line. That's what Alentejo is kind of like divided by. And just nice, like really good dark fruit flavors. This is, you know, that cassis, this is that blackberry. And just a nice, like fuller bodied red wine without being totally over the top on tannin or acid.
Like a decent, like summer red wine.
For sure. These wines are on sale for $12.99 until they're gone. So though we have about 9 cases, we have 11 cases of some of them. I believe there's a little more availability, and they will stick around on the shelves just because I think they're really tasty. And you don't see indigenous varietal Portugal wines often that are not, you know, porked, or they're from like the Dow or Douro, which are a little more popular areas where, you know, last Wines Days, was from Trozos Montes, which is up north. These are from the south. And then there are a couple other Portuguese wines in that same display that are from Vinho Verde, which is the very like northeast. Didn't see what she said. Oh, nice. That's awesome. Portugal is definitely on my list of places to visit. My cousin just got back last week. One of my other friends and her friend are in Portugal right now for a week or two. One of the cheesemakers that, if you're familiar with Prodigal, she actually just sold her farm, and her goal is for her and her partner to move to Portugal or Spain. They're eyeing Portugal just because they like the wine, they like the prices are a little even friendlier than they are in Spain. And I think she still feels like she could have some goat or some sheep, so she could still make cheese. Just I think that Kat needs to do that. But that's their next step, which is pretty exciting. I'm excited because hopefully if they move there and we stay in contact, then I'll have a place to crash in Portugal. And then, with Alentejo, there's coast, there's mountains. It's a really just from the pictures, especially the ones that we were just seeing, really beautiful place. So that's awesome. Did you see the ruins when you were there?
She's trying to. I'd definitely like to take a trip to Portugal.
Heck yeah, we'll see if we can get. So these wines are distributed to us by this guy, Andoni, and he's actually going to Portugal and Spain at the end of July, early August. So we'll have to lean in on him, see if we can get some co-op travel approved or something like that. Nice. Yeah, Lisbon is I think like an hour and a half west of Evora, something like that. And then Porto would be north of that. I'm not familiar with Coimbra. But yeah, that's that right there. The very, very inexpensive is what I've heard. A lot of bang for buck still. And that's kind of, again, one of the reasons that we're showing off these wines is that they're not Cab or Merlot or Pinot. They're not, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Gris or, what have you, but they're really great wines that, kind of show off these folks' heritage. Awesome. Okay. We get even more facts from Leslie. Thank you very much.
Portuguese professional.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So back to red wine. So the winemaker's notes, he recommends spicy food, hard cheese. Again, that's kind of why we pushed that Reggiano today. I will call you Fat Gal from now on, Leslie. But really just easy going. I think just like quite a few of the wines we've had lately, you could throw a 20-minute chill on this and be totally fine. Grilled stuff, that is what I think this definitely screams for. A little bit of smoke, and then just like this nice dark fruit. The acid isn't overwhelming. The tannins are overwhelming. So really great stuff. So any other things you'd like to talk about, Maggie?
I was curious, how does Andoni find these wines?
That's a good question.
I'll have to ask him next time.
Yeah, he's been in the wine business for about 26 years now. If you ever meet him, he's amazing. He's not on Wednesday because he hates technology. He handwrites his invoices. He doesn't text. He hates email. So I call him. I leave his order, on his voicemail, and he shows up a day or two later. He's probably the person I talk to on the phone the most, like out of everybody because everybody else is text or email. But really great guy. His wines are fantastic.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with Santola Vino Verde, the crab wine, like, you know, one of the summer staples for the co-op, that is from Andoni. And then we have two other Vino Verdes right now, the Pasoros, and we just got in the Mojalas. We got another case of that today. He's waiting on some of that to come back into port, hopefully 2 weeks or so, and we'll be able to get more of that in. Again, if you had Santola, it's very to the point, acid, lemon, lime, spritzy, and that's it. And that's what it should be. You know, not a lot to think of, but that's kind of, 9% ice cold. Put it over ice if you want to, and you don't have to really worry about losing too much. Where the Pasoras and the Mojalas actually have a lot more texture. They're different great blends, really, really fantastic stuff if you want to do the next level up from Vino Verde. We also get some Albarino from him, which is just really gorgeous. Really,
that's Leslie's favorite.
Yeah, that Nvidia,
Moon.
yeah, with the little snail on it, or the Puku.
Yeah, Puku.
Yeah, both those guys are really great. So most of the Portuguese wines on the shelf, I think everything with the exception of like 2 or 3 right now, come from him. So really, really great guy. Love to support him. Based in Raleigh, so fun stuff. Right. Are there any questions about the red wine or the cheeses? No. Cool. Let's see. Well, if there are no more questions, we're gonna wrap up Wines Day. We talked a lot about Cork today. I'll try and get some research about how much of the production there is, and what if there is a supply demand kind of thing going on. I know the sustainability is there because it is a natural growth product. One thing that I didn't share, going all the way back to to Cork's. This is where cork oak grows in Europe. And you can see almost 100% of Portugal is covered. And then, Extremadura and that part of Spain is down here too. But Portugal is definitely where it's coming from. And
are there different cork trees, or is it just that one?
I believe it's only Quercia suber is the cork oak. So I don't think there's any other oak trees that grow that same amount. I think they grow pretty well in California too. And I believe that some people were trying to grow them out there, but there's a 30-year entry until you can start to harvest. Wow. So we'll see. But it is, really well managed, and a way of life. Cork, pork, and port, I guess, and fun wines. So the next Wines Day is June 8th. Same fun time, 5:30. We've got Thomas joining us from Tryon. We'll pick out the wines by the end of next week and put them on top of the charcuterie case like normal. I'm not really sure what we're going to do yet. We've got, we haven't really done bubbles in a while, so we might do some Cremant Limo called Saint Hilaire. So that's a really fun wine. We can talk about why it is what it is. And then we'll throw in probably a red wine or something like that. But keep tuned, like normal. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, zach@durham.coop, or email Maggie. She's also super talented when it comes to the wine section.
Who wants to know?
Purpose of tiny taste of wine in a restaurant. Yes. So when the question is why, when they open the bottle, and it's typically the person who orders the bottle, do they pour a little splash of wine in your glass? That is to assess the wine, if it's sound, if there's something wrong with it. So cork taint is definitely something to look out for. You've probably seen people smell the cork. That doesn't necessarily indicate the quality of wine. When somebody's smelling the cork, you can smell cork taint on the cork. So that's another thing. If you're offered the cork, you can smell the cork for that reason. It doesn't tell you anything what the wine is going to be in the glass, but it's definitely about the cork taint. You can also see if it's what's called reductive. So there's like an excess sulfur in there, which is could just be the wine needs to settle down a little bit. It's just not quite ready to drink, or it was just like imported in, kind of shook up, and those kind of the sulfites haven't like reintegrated yet. Oxidative. So if things are nutty or kind of caramelly, and they shouldn't be. So like Madeira should be, sherry should be, but that's not a normal flavor in like a white wine. So just to see if the wine is acceptable. If you think it's bad, then say like, I don't really know. And hopefully they have somebody on staff who can properly assess the wine and like confirm that it is sound or confirm that it's not. That's when you're in doubt, you shouldn't feel bad for asking a question or to say like, hey, I'm not really sure about if this is good or not. And at a good establishment, they should want to take care of you because that's why you're there, being a patron. That one, that's a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough one. Technically, it's kind of a jerk move. Like if you're like, I don't like this, and it's like, well, then why did you order it? Why did you order a really buttery Chardonnay if you hate buttery Chardonnay? That I would say if you're not sure what kind of wine to order, ask the server, or tell them what you like. I really love, big bodied Cabernet. Like give them kind of a starting point, or I want something, that tastes like lemons and is high acid, or, give them a little guide, or, if you've already picked out your food, say like, what would you recommend? And that's a better start point. And then if they bring you something, and you're like, yeah, this is horrible, then it's kind of on them. Like you kind of like, it's not, they're like, oh, well, I thought you would like this. And you're like, nah, it's not really my thing. You can, it's more to tell corking. It really has no bearing on the quality of wine when you smell the cork. It's really just to tell if there's a fault, because the cork is what is giving you the corking. And I'll have to find some, if you want to do an experiment at home, throw a cardboard box and let it get nice and moldy and then smell it. And that'll be a really good indicator of what cork taint is. I think we've had a bottle be sent, brought back to us with actual cork taint. And I think you were able to smell that. I don't know if I made you drink it or not.
I think that was like a reductive
thing. The Ashenite. It's not fun. It's really not. It's not a pleasant experience. It can ruin, like if when Maggie and I do tastings with reps, if a wine is cork taint, it can kind of ruin the whole rest of the tasting because you can't get past that smell. A lot of times you have to like get a new tasting glass just because it kind of hangs around, and it's not a fun time. But yeah, if I find a cork taint bottle, I'll give little vials away or something like that, so everybody can see what it smells like, tastes like, if you're willing. But yeah, as far as like I said, if you feel a wine is bad at a restaurant, feel free to ask a question. If you ordered it and you just don't like it, then I would ask questions beforehand, or at least get their opinion. And if you don't like what they say, order a beer or a cocktail. Like that. You can kind of skip it. If depending on time of day, shoot me an email. Might be able to help you out real quick. Most restaurants, if in Durham, at least one of my favorite restaurants is Littler on Parish Street. And the folks there know their wine. It's the same restaurant group as Jack Tar and Toro, and their beverage program is really strong. Same thing with Alley 26. Like they know what they're doing over there, and you should feel free to ask questions. If you get a kind of snarky response, then again, for me, that's not how I like to treat alcohol. I want everybody to drink as much as possible, in a responsible and safe way, of course. But it's, one of those things, like the wine is for enjoyment. And if, sure, we do wine days so we can talk about what's in the glass, we can assess, we can, lament over the fact that cork is kind of amazing once you get into it. But don't feel bad and ask questions. Like if you're at a quality place and they, are not just serving like really big winery or corporate wine list kind of stuff, then you should hopefully get really good service and taken care of, and maybe find something new that you weren't aware of before. So that's my little rant on wine at restaurants. If you do find a wine at a restaurant that you love and you don't want to pay, $60 for it, you can probably get it for about a third as much at the co-op. Again, take a picture of the label, send it my way or Maggie's way, and we'll look into it for you and let you know what we find out. There's quite a few things out there that, we only have so much space, but special ordering things is super easy. I've actually got like 3 customers that's what I do. Like they don't really buy wine off the shelves. They only buy wine that they're kind of searching out, and 1 or 2 bottles at a time, no big deal. It might take a couple weeks, it might take a couple days, it might take a couple hours to get it. Like it just depends on what it is, but more than happy to help you guys out with that. And that's why we do Wines Days, to hopefully discover more and learn some fun new things. So great. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Like I said, the next Wednesday is June 8th, and look forward to seeing everybody there. And like I said, anytime you have a question, feel free. I'm around, and talking about beer and wine is one of my favorite things to do. And cheese. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you on next Wednesday. And thank you, special guest Maggie, for the last 2 Wednesdays. It's been very fun.
It's been an honor.
Talking about Portuguese wines. All right. Good night, everybody.